As you heard, it was a night of historic losses for the Conservatives, with high-profile names losing their seats, including former Prime Minister Liz Truss, Defence Secretary Grant Shapps, Commons leader Penny Mordaunt.
Yes, in Dorset, Bournemouth East was one of the seats that turned to Labour for the first time. We're joined by the former Conservative MP, Tobias Ellwood now. Thank you very much for your time, Tobias Ellwood. It's a brutal business, politics, when it comes right down to it. In the early hours of the morning, you find out you don't have a job. Just talk me through what it means for you, I suppose personally, but also in terms of politics.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm one of many that was amazed to learn, well, perhaps less amazed as time went on, that I was going to lose my seat. So there's a number of colleagues that are certainly very, very upset, but understandable. We need to learn, regroup. I think the wishes of, or the concerns of Britain, can I wish the new government, Keir Starmer, the best. We enter a bumpy period in international politics, and we need statecraft, to return. We need Britain to play its role on the international stage. How long this government remains in office, though, is in part up to us. We enter a new chapter, certainly, but this is a sobering wake-up call for people like myself, for the Conservative Party as a whole, and we need to take time to regroup and I think redefine what modern, pragmatic, centre-right conservatism actually is, what we stand for and where we want to go. As Sir John Curtis was saying, what is our vision? And I think there's been a tussle as to where we sit in the political spectrum at the moment. The economy may have been improving, but the tribal warfare within our ranks sent a very confusing message to the electorate. Disunited, ill-disciplined parties simply don't win elections. So, now let's take time. We face an inflection point. How we conduct ourselves now and the direction we choose to go could actually determine the fate of my party, or indeed the success of my party in the future.
I notice you're using the word "we" a lot. You're no longer a Conservative MP. Are you advocating yourself as now part of the solution? I'm trying to work out what you personally, and there'll be other MPs who've lost their seats like you, what do you think your role now is in what happens with your party next?
That's a very good question. Ultimately, it'll be up to my local association, but there are many of us that still have the energy, the determination, the commitment to want to continue in politics. We don't want to sort of pack up and say, that's it. We don't know when the next election might actually be, but I hope that we can continue to be a force for good. But absolutely, as party members, we must be part of that conversation to shape where our party is actually going to go. As I say, there's a big question about also the selection of our leader, because the common denominator throughout the recent political turbulence over the last few years, which has really hampered Rishi Sunak, has been that absence of discipline, that collective resolve, the pursuance of those competing agendas that I spoke about. And I strongly believe that until the power of selecting the party leader is returned to the parliamentary party, then you're going to continue to get wannabe future leaders seeking not to impress colleagues, but indeed to try and appeal to the base itself. And history shows that if all you do is appeal to your own base, but not beyond, that's not the winning formula for the Conservative Party. We must actually be that modern party, that pragmatic party, that centre-right party that reaches out to the whole of Britain. So there's some big conversations to be had. Nothing needs to be done immediately. I hope Rishi Sunak is willing to stay on as long as it takes for us to have that conversation, learn from the British people, and recraft a winning formula that can actually see us come back at the next election, not stay in opposition for a couple of cycles.
OK, so talk me through some specifics. Put some names into the frame for you, and maybe you'll shy away from this question about who should be leader of the party that you support. Jeremy Hunt, for example. We look at Kemi Badenoch, Suella Braverman. Talk to me about some of those names.
So you're making or offering, and I understand why you're doing it, the exact mistake that we must not go into. A leap, and I see it all over the papers as well, as to who might be the next leader. That's not the right thing to do. Let's pause on who the leader might be, and let's understand what the party should be. We need to actually regroup and understand and have a consensus as to what our party stands for. Some want to flirt with the extreme right, for example. I think that's wrong. I go back, I've said this many times, that the Conservatives' winning formula for elections, going from Baldwin, Disraeli, Churchill, Thatcher as well, is actually reaching beyond our base to the middle of Britain. That's
Okay,
the centre-right
Tobias, if I may,
approach.
I'm just going to interrupt you at that point, because you said moving to the far right would be a mistake. Who is it you're talking about? I mean, because I'm trying to be straight with you and ask you about leadership contenders. And when you say that, some people will have some names in their mind. They might be thinking that you're talking about Braverman. Who are you talking about when you say that?
And I'm humbly saying that is not the right strategic order in which our party needs to regroup. There's an awful lot of homework to firstly agree as to where our party should be going, where we sit in that political spectrum, what we actually stand for, how we are relevant to the British people. And going back to Sir John Curtis' point, what is our vision? Now, yes, a lot of that comes from the leader themselves, but the idea that somehow that we just leap to a leader, we're going to go around this buoy again, the difficulty of appealing to our party base and not to the British people.
OK, I'm thinking carefully about what you're saying, and I understand you don't want to get involved in names. But I don't know what you've learned from this election campaign, but there was a lot of talk about straight talking, that they want politicians to, and I know you're not a politician anymore, in a way that gives you a freedom. I mean, you're not an MP anymore. So why are you not doing the thing that so many people want you to do, which is say, do you know what? I see these people. I see these names that might appeal beyond the party. People might be saying, you have the opportunity now, as an outsider, member of the Conservative Party, to be more clear. So why not go with it?
I'd like to think, and I've got some scars on my back, actually, that prove it, that I have spoken out, perhaps more so than others. I have been free to speak my mind. I think we need more of that. I'm afraid there was too much of the sycophants in politics. It's crept on all sides, where you just sign up to the party line and then roll with it. It's part of the problems that we've had that we didn't challenge within, and we've had to course correct through a very, very difficult period indeed. But it's that tribal warfare I go back to. We've got a lot of learning to do. And it is possible. The positive here is look at where Keir Starmer took his party. Under Jeremy Corbyn, Labour was unelectable, absolutely unelectable just 4 years ago. We now need to begin that journey. It isn't leaping straight away as to who those leaders, the next leader might be. It could very well be that the next leader of our party does not take us into the next general election. That's another question as to whether you have somebody that just holds us on for a little while. Big discussions, big debates. Let's have that debate. Let's have that discussion. Let's be frank amongst ourselves as to how we've got it wrong over so many years. So many factors involved, so much to learn. Let's get that done first before we then leap to choosing another leader.
We appreciate your time this morning, Tobias Ellwood, former, and I'm not trying to make points out of that, but it's just a fact now. You are the former Bournemouth East MP. Thank you very much for your time this morning.
Good morning.